This sucks. This channel I've mainly just posted about Vanguard Zero, which means I obviously play Vanguard, which means I also am aware of other Bushiroad games. One of those games that I was a fan of in the past is Buddyfight. Yesterday, on June 15th, I woke up to a Twitter post saying that they will no longer be making new cards. They will be releasing the sets that they've already designed, but they will no longer be supporting the game. Now, I've already been kind of outside of the game, but I've still kind of kept my eye on it because it's still a game I care about, and it's a community that I care for. Now, the game came out, I think, in like 2014, 2015, and I was a pretty big fan of it immediately. I had already been playing Vanguard for at least a year at that point, and to see another game come out that they were going to support in English, it made me quite excited. What I typically do before I invest in a game is I see kind of what the feel for the game tells me, and one way to kind of get that feel is from watching the anime if they have one. Buddyfight did have an anime, and I quite enjoyed it. It gave off this really lighthearted feel. It explained how to play the game without kind of talking down to you. The characters were kind of one-dimensional, but you could kind of tell that the target audience initially was younger than the initial card fight audience. I felt like the game, I don't know how to word this right, but I think it's called like a low floor, high ceiling, where it felt it was very easy to get into, but it had a lot of room for growth and skill. What initially kind of attracted me to the game was this idea of picking a buddy. It wasn't as in-depth as I kind of would have liked it to be, because it kind of felt to me like Commander, where you'd pick a unit that meant something to you, and then that unit would help determine how your deck would play. In this case, it was more of just you'd pick your favorite card, and if you ever laid it, you'd get a health. I would have preferred it maybe a little more in-depth, kind of like something like they do in Force of Will, but the flexibility of picking any unit to be your buddy kind of spoke to a lot of people, I think. When the game first released and there was really only Dragon World, Danger World, and then like Magic World. Magic World was when I started listening. Each world had like a different card frame, and I really liked the aesthetic of what Magic World was doing. After opening like some packs and kind of seeing what I got, I was originally kind of drawn to this guy. His name's Zepar. He's just a vanilla, like a lot of other units back then, but I don't know. He was just kind of this cool little middle ground. He looked cool. His name's cool. Yeah, he was my buddy. I would build quite a few other decks and just kind of play around by myself. That was a lot of like what high school was for me, is I would just put 2 decks on a table and then like play them by myself. And Buddyfight was really simple to get into. It was really quick games. The card quality, dude, I need to talk about the card quality. I love these cards. The thickness is perfect. The size is standard compared to Vanguard, which is small. And if you feel the back, there's like this texture on it, dude. I love it. I love these things. I don't really remember when Hero World was announced, but man, like I think that was like when I really started paying attention to Buddyfight. In the first release of Hero World, there was the Quartet 5, which was inspired by Power Rangers and Super Sentai. And I'm a huge like Power Rangers nerd. So I was super excited to get to play like Power Rangers basically. I really like the aesthetic of all of them. Also like the cool robots and dragons that were in the world. Even though technically I had to use Vier, which was the number 4 ranger, which he is cool. Cybin, which is kind of the anti-hero for Power Rangers. he was the coolest. One thing that I loved about Buddy Fight was the idea of you getting to fight alongside your units, that you could equip yourself with like a weapon, and as long as nothing was in front of you, you could swing in. What I really loved about Hero World was that it let you transform into these units, so you could pick your favorite Power Ranger unit and you could fight as him. So getting to fight as the cool, dark, badass Power Ranger was super cool to me. I couldn't afford more than one of him at the time because I think he was like a $2 card. So he just kind of chilled in the deck, but I always felt like he was my buddy because he's had these huge stats. You did have to pay a gauge to attack with him, but yeah, Cybin was my dude. Man, this was a good game. Now, I don't think the ending of this game is any one party's fault. I don't think it's just Bushiroad's fault. I don't think it's just the fan base's fault. You could kind of tell that the game was dying, sadly, when the anime was first canceled, which really sucked. When they redid it with Ace, like with the main protagonist kid, I was excited. I had kind of been out of the game at that point. I would always like finish the series, but I would take like long breaks and then binge watch it all. But I was starting to kind of like get back into it. So when the anime was canceled, you could kind of see the writing in the sand that maybe this game was on borrowed time, but it held on for quite a while after that. So I was thinking maybe they were just trying to go a different direction. They will be having a thank you stream on June 29th, I think at 7 p.m. I'm definitely going to try to watch, just kind of take in what's happening to a really beautiful game. Even though I didn't have friends to play with, you could always tell by just kind of watching YouTube videos and checking on the internet that this community did care about the game. Now, if you happen to play Buddy Fight, I would love to hear your stories in the comments, kind of as one last reminiscent about a game that we cared about, that we invested money into to play with our friends. By myself. Thank you, Buddy Fight. Thank you for giving me some really cool buddies over the years. I'm sorry I didn't give you the time while you were around, but damn, you were a beautiful game. Thank you to Bushiroad and the Buddy Fight team for caring about this game until the very end. Yeah, I never know how to end these. That's all I got.